The door is right there. That's what my CEO said, his voice smooth, rehearsed, and cruel. He didn't even look up from his laptop when he said it. Just a flick of his hand, like I was some intern spilling coffee, not the woman who'd given 28 years of her life to that company. I stood there, fingers gripping the worn leather strap of my old briefcase, the same one I'd carried since my first day. He finally looked up then, and smiled. That corporate smile. Triumphant. We're moving in a different direction, Claire. It's time you did too. I felt my pulse slow, not quicken. Like my body already knew something my heart hadn't caught up to yet. I didn't beg. I didn't even speak. I just closed my laptop. The same one that held every late-night project, every patent draft, every idea they said was too ambitious. My name is Claire Bennett. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever built something so valuable, so real that people thought they could take it from you because they thought you were small? That's the thing about loyalty. It's only respected until it costs someone money. So I smiled, packed my bag, and walked out through that glass door, watching my reflection fade in the mirror-like surface. The same walls that once echoed my footsteps now watched me disappear. Outside, the city was calm, too calm for the storm building in my chest. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just walked to the parking garage, sat in my car, and whispered, "Hey then. Let's play." Because here's the thing my CEO forgot. Every patent I'd ever filed, every design I'd ever improved, was under my personal name. And by morning, when their calls began, when the founder screamed, "Why do you own our $750 million patent?" It was already too late. The empire they'd built on my back was crumbling. And I was the one holding the blueprints. The first call came at 5:42 a.m. Unknown number. Then another. And another. By the time the sun started bleeding through my blinds, I had 203 missed calls. I didn't answer any of them. Not yet. Revenge is an art, not a reaction. I poured myself a cup of black coffee and sat on the balcony of my small downtown apartment. The same one I could barely afford after putting my savings into the company's stock years ago. Stock they said would pay off someday. It never did. Till now. Because what they didn't know, what no one had bothered to ask, was that I never signed away my ownership. That patent, filed under C. Bennett Innovations, a small LLC I'd created back in 2003, when a younger version of me still believed the company saw her as more than a cog. That patent was the heart of their new AI logistics system, the same one investors were pouring hundreds of millions into. Without it, their contracts meant nothing. At 8:17 a.m., my phone buzzed again. This time the name made me smile. Elliot Carter, the founder himself. The man who used to call me the brain of the operation. I let it ring twice before answering. "Claire, thank God. There's been some kind of mistake." His voice was tight, too polite. Desperate. "I think legal may have." "There's no mistake, Elliot," I interrupted softly. "I invented the system. I filed it. I own it." Pause. Then quieter. "You don't understand what this means for us." "I do," I said, sipping my coffee. "That's why I didn't pick up the first 200 times. For a second all I heard was his breathing. Then, "Claire, listen, I can fix this. We'll buy it back. Name your price." I smiled into the morning light. "Buy it back? Elliot, you already sold it. To everyone else. You just forgot to pay the woman who built it." He tried again, louder this time, his voice cracking under pressure. "You can't hold us hostage, Claire. We'll go to court." "Then I'll see you there," I said. "But you might want to tell your shareholders why your flagship patent is registered to a woman you fired yesterday." Silence. The kind of silence that only comes after someone realizes the board meeting they're walking into is also their funeral. I leaned back, let the sunlight touch my face, and for the first time in years, I felt something close to peace. Not victory yet, just clarity. They thought I wouldn't fight back. They thought 28 years of loyalty meant submission. They forgot loyalty can turn into something else. Something sharper. That morning I opened my laptop. Not for them, but for me. I drafted a single email to the corporate inbox. "Dear all, As of today, the intellectual property rights for the Bennett AI system remain under sole ownership of C. Bennett Innovations. Any continued use without authorization will be pursued under U.S. patent law. Warm regards, Claire Bennett. Then I hit send. And just like that, the game began. By noon, the world had found out. Someone leaked my email. Maybe an intern, maybe one of the execs trying to scare me into silence. Either way, it didn't work. Within hours, business blogs were running headlines like, "Tech giant in legal turmoil. Fired employee claims ownership of $750 million patent." I sat on my couch, barefoot, watching it unfold like a movie I didn't audition for but somehow starred in. The company's PR team moved fast, too fast. Their statement hit the wires before lunch. "We are aware of Ms. Bennett's unfounded claims. Our legal team is addressing this matter immediately." Unfounded. After 28 years of building their foundation. The irony made me laugh out loud. Then came the legal letter, thick, official, printed on expensive paper that smelled like arrogance. A cease and desist. They wanted me to relinquish all intellectual property, in exchange for a one-time settlement of $250,000. $250,000. For the system that ran every major freight operation across the country. For the invention that had just been valued at $750 million. I took the letter, placed it gently on my coffee table and lit a candle next to it. It felt like a funeral. For the woman I used to be, the one who would have signed without a fight. My lawyer, Dana, an old college friend who'd gone into patent law, met me that night at a diner off Route 67. She stirred her tea, looked up and said, "They're terrified, Claire. They wouldn't lowball you unless they knew you have them by the throat." I smiled faintly. "Then I'll squeeze." She leaned in. "What's your move?" "Their next board meeting," I said. "They'll be scrambling to calm investors. That's when I'll speak." "Speak," she frowned. "You mean attend?" I nodded. "I still own 1.4% of the company's stock. Enough to enter as a shareholder. Enough to make them listen." That night I ironed my old Navy suit, the same one I wore the day they promoted me to senior systems architect. The seams were faded, but it felt like armor. I stood in front of the mirror watching my reflection, softer lines, silver strands, tired eyes, and whispered, "They wanted to see me gone. Now they'll see me rise." The next morning I walked into the skyscraper I once called home. Security froze, uncertain. I flashed my shareholder badge and kept walking. Upstairs, through the glass doors of the executive boardroom, I saw them. My old team, the CEO, the founder, all pretending nothing was burning. The room went quiet as I entered. "Ms. Bennett," the CEO started, forcing a smile. "This is a closed meeting." "Not anymore," I said, sliding a folder onto the table. "Because I think you'll want to hear what I've done." I watched him swallow hard, jaw tight as he opened the folder. Inside were 3 signed contracts. Not with them but with their 3 biggest clients. Each one had agreed to license my patent directly through me. Their system was already bleeding. And I had just cut the main artery. The boardroom was quiet. Not peaceful quiet, but that eerie kind that comes after an explosion when everyone's too stunned to move. The CEO's hand trembled as he turned each page. The founder's face went pale. My 3 contracts gleamed under the fluorescent lights. Legal, binding, and beautifully simple. They said one thing loud and clear. The system they fired me for was now my company's property. And their top clients were switching to me. Elliot, the founder, was the first to speak. "Claire, you don't understand what this does." He wasn't angry, he was afraid. "Oh, I understand perfectly," I said softly. "You took my work, built your empire on it, then threw me out. I'm just reclaiming what's mine." The CEO, Jonathan, slammed his palm on the table. "You think you can ruin us over a signature?" I tilted my head. "Not ruin. Replace." He leaned forward, voice low, dripping with venom. "You'll be blacklisted. No company will ever work with you again." I smiled faintly. "Then I guess I'll build my own." For a moment no one spoke. Then someone from the board, a woman I'd mentored years ago, whispered, "Good for her." Jonathan's glare shot across the room like a blade. But the damage was already done. They weren't united anymore. Fear was eating them from the inside. I gathered my papers, turned to leave, and paused at the door. You should really check the system logs, I said quietly. The patent's one thing, but I also own the encryption algorithm your entire network runs on. Their faces dropped. Pure panic. I didn't look back. Outside, the city buzzed like nothing had changed, but inside me something had. It wasn't joy, not yet. It was calm. The kind of calm that comes when justice starts breathing again after years underwater. As I walked past the marble lobby, the security guard, the same one who'd watched me carry out my box of things 2 days ago, gave me a nod. Back already, Miss Bennett? Just visiting old friends, I said, smiling. By the time I got home, my name was trending. #Bennett vs. Brightline. A full-blown corporate drama unfolding live online. News anchors called me the woman who outsmarted her own company. Commentators called me reckless, brilliant, a symbol of women in tech reclaiming power. I didn't reply to any of it. I just watched, silent, steady. Because for once the story was telling itself. At midnight, Dana called. They're trying to freeze your assets, she said. Court order. But they won't win. You filed everything clean. It's airtight. I exhaled slowly. Good. Let them try. Then I looked out my window, the city lights glimmering like 1,000 small victories, and whispered, they made me their enemy. I was only ever their engineer. And beneath that quiet triumph, a new thought began to form, colder, sharper. They'd fired me publicly. Maybe it was time I ended them the same way. 3 days later, I became a headline. The woman who outsmarted her boss. Ex-employee owns $750 million patent. Brightline faces crisis after firing senior engineer who held the keys. I didn't ask for fame, but revenge has a way of finding the spotlight. The media wanted interviews. Investors wanted reassurance. And Brightline? They wanted me gone. They issued another statement. Short, bitter, defensive. Ms. Bennett's claims are being exaggerated by social media. The company remains fully operational. Except it wasn't. Because the clients I'd signed were already pulling out of their contracts. The logistics grid I'd designed was starting to shut down piece by piece. And every engineer they called to fix it ran into the same wall. My encryption. I was sitting in a small studio apartment surrounded by cold pizza boxes and open laptops when I got the message that changed everything. It came from an internal address. al.miller@brightlandcorp.com. Lena Miller. My old assistant. Quiet. Brilliant. Invisible just like I used to be. Her message was short. They're panicking. They're hiding things. I can help. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then typed back. What are they hiding? Her reply came instantly. Proof they used your design in military contracts. They never told investors. I can leak it. My heart slowed. This wasn't just corporate betrayal anymore. It was fraud on a federal scale. And now I had a key witness. 2 nights later, Lena met me at a diner on 3rd Avenue. She looked terrified, clutching a flash drive like it was a weapon. They're trying to erase the servers, she said. If you want proof, it's all here. I took it carefully. You could lose everything for this. She gave a faint smile. I already did. They fired me yesterday. We sat in silence for a moment. 2 women the company had discarded like spare parts. Then I asked softly, are you ready for this to go public? Lena nodded. It's time. The next morning I uploaded the files anonymously. Contracts, memos, payment trails. All showing Brightline had sold government-grade systems built from my algorithm without clearance. The story exploded. Federal investigators opened an inquiry. Brightline's stock plummeted 62% in a single day. News anchors replayed the same clip over and over. The CEO at a press conference sweating under bright lights, denying everything. But the documents told the truth. And the truth had my signature on it. That evening I finally agreed to one interview. A quiet studio, no makeup, no filters. Just me, a microphone and a camera. The journalist asked, Claire, what do you want now that you've taken everything back? I paused, looked right into the lens and said, I never wanted to take everything. I just wanted to be seen. But sometimes visibility costs power. And now, they've paid in full. The clip went viral overnight. Millions of views. The comments poured in. She's a genius. She's ruthless. She's right. But beneath the flood of praise I felt something quieter. Not victory yet, just balance. Like the scales had finally leveled. And when my phone buzzed again, this time with a new email from the Department of Justice, I knew the story wasn't over. By the end of the week, Brightline's headquarters looked like a war zone. News vans crowded the sidewalks, reporters shouting questions at anyone in a suit. The once polished glass lobby was barricaded, the company logo half removed, as if even the building was ashamed. I didn't go there, I didn't need to. The fall was already in motion. Federal agents raided the office at dawn. Documents seized. Servers pulled. By noon, the headlines read, Brightline CEO and executives under federal investigation for patent fraud and misuse of defense contracts. Jonathan, my old CO, the same man who once told me, the door is right there, was escorted out in handcuffs. That image went everywhere. Broadcast, retweeted, replayed until it lost its sound and became symbolic. People said justice had been served. But to me it felt quieter than that. Justice isn't fireworks. It's the steady exhale after decades of being silenced. Dana called that afternoon. They're offering a settlement, she said, almost breathless. Full patent ownership, back pay, damages. They're desperate to close this before trial. How much? I asked. She hesitated. $375 million. For a moment I said nothing. Not because of the number, I didn't care about that anymore, but because of what it represented. Every late night. Every meeting where I was talked over. Every idea stolen, reshaped, and handed back to me with someone else's name on it. I thought of the years I stayed loyal, hoping loyalty meant safety. It never did. Tell them no, I said finally. Dana went quiet. Claire, that's... I don't want their money, I interrupted. I want the company. That evening I made a single phone call, to Lena. We're starting something new, I told her. A clean company. Transparent, fair, built the way it should have been. She laughed through her tears. You're serious? Dead serious. You in? Always. 2 months later, Bennett Dynamics launched publicly. A quiet press release. No glitz. Just a promise. Innovation with integrity. Investors came pouring in. The same ones who'd abandoned Brightline. The same clients signed fresh contracts, this time on my terms. And when the first prototype of our new system went live, faster, safer, unbreakable, I stood in the middle of that small office we'd rented and finally let myself cry. Not because I'd won, but as I was free. The night news broke that Jonathan had pled guilty. I poured a glass of wine, stepped onto my balcony and looked out over the sleeping city. The lights shimmered like quiet applause. Lena texted me a photo, a screenshot of the old Brightline website. Down for maintenance. I smiled. Permanently. For the first time in years I turned off my phone. No calls. No noise. Just peace. And somewhere deep inside me I heard the echo of that voice, his voice saying, the door is right there. And I smiled again, whispering to the night. Yes. And I walked through it. There's a certain quiet that comes after revenge. It isn't loud or triumphant. Still, like the world exhales with you. Months passed. Brightline was gone, dissolved, bankrupt, swallowed by its own greed. Their name, once synonymous with innovation, was now a cautionary tale in every business class. People whispered about the woman who had walked away with everything. But I hadn't taken everything. I'd only taken back what was mine. Bennett Dynamics grew slowly, deliberately. No corner offices, no hierarchies carved in marble. Everyone had a voice. Everyone had a name. On Fridays we worked with the windows open. Lena played old soul music through the speakers, the kind that made the air hum softly with memory. Sometimes I'd catch her looking at me, the same way I used to look at people who'd survived something. With quiet respect. She once asked me, was it worth it? Her voice was small, unsure. I thought for a long time before answering. It wasn't about worth, I said. It was about truth. They took my years, my ideas, my trust. But they never took me. They just forgot who I was. She smiled faintly. And who are you now? I looked out the window at the city breathing below us and said, someone who finally walked through the door they tried to close. That evening I visited the old office one last time. The building was empty. Furniture gone, nameplates removed, the ghost of ambition still echoing in the hallways. I ran my hand along the glass door where I'd once stood, fired and forgotten. The same door that had opened to everything I'd become. It's funny how endings disguise themselves as exits. Sometimes when you're being pushed out, you're actually being set free. I left a single note taped to that door. No anger. No signatures. Just 4 words written in blue ink. Thank you for the push. Then I turned, walked into the cool evening air and didn't look back. As I drove away, the skyline shimmered in the distance, sharp and silver under the moonlight. I rolled the window down, let the wind fill the silence and smiled. Because after all the chaos, the loss, the rebuilding, it wasn't revenge I felt anymore. It was peace. The kind you earn only after losing everything and realizing you never needed most of it. And maybe that's what justice really is. Not taking back what they stole, but remembering you were never theirs to begin with. My name is Claire Bennett, and my story is completed.